I am Mickey G, an alcoholic. My sobriety date is July 14, 2000. I have a sponsor who has a sponsor. Now that that's all out of the way, I will keep to the format of what it was like before, during, and after. I am one of five children, or two of them. I don't know. I was raised in the city of San Bruno as a child with my grandparents, my uncle, and my mom. I'll give you a little bit of my childhood background. I was born in October of 1970 at Stanford Hospital. Before the birth took place, I did a somersault inside the womb and kind of knocked in the court. I was born not breathing. Now, the doctor that did the birth said that I was stillborn, but another doctor walked in and took over. He brought me back to life after 7 minutes, calling my disability, which is cerebral palsy. I was told I was in the hospital for a year before I even got to go home. I am fortunate because my disability depends on how much work you get as a child. I have friends that are wheelchair bound and some can't talk or do anything. I feel it depends on the family members and how much they work with the child. They told my family I wouldn't make it. I was told that my sister was home before I was because we are 11 months apart. All the doctors told my family that I would be a vegetable, meaning that according to them I should not be doing anything that I can do at all. I had a real great uncle and my mom at the time, and they worked with me. Because of those two people, I can walk, talk, and drive a car like the rest of you. This is because of my mom and my uncle, mainly my uncle pushing me so hard. And when I say push, I mean push. I'll give you a good example. You know, when a baby wants their bottle, when I was crying, my uncle would let me suck on the bottle for a few minutes, then pull it out of my mouth. He would put it on the floor, about 10 feet away from me, and watch me cry and scream for hours. But I got that bottle somehow. That was just to get me to learn to move myself on the floor. There are a couple other things that he did for me when I got a little bit older. I was about 6 or 7 years old because I was walking my grandfather, and my uncle built a walkway for me, 40 feet long. He would stand me on one end and tell me, "You better hold on and walk. I want you to get to the other side." And I did it. I have to tell you guys one more story about my uncle. I was walking, but not very well at all, so I had to go through a procedure operation. During this operation, I was about 9 years old, and I was in a body cast. This is the reason I am walking by myself, though today I am limited. What my uncle used to do was he would stop by the hospital 3 times a day, but at night after work, he would come in. I was in my crib, and my uncle would climb in there with me at night until I fell asleep. My uncle did everything for me, like taking me to baseball games and stuff like that. When I was 10, my mom took a turn for the worse. There was a lot of violence in the household between my mom, grandfather, and dad whenever he was around. What I can remember, there were knives pulled, baseball bats, and a lot of fighting. This is when I was a little boy. There was alcohol and drugs all around the house. Later on, my mom started to beat me and my sister with anything she could get her hands on. It got pretty ugly, especially for me because I could not get away that fast, so I got it pretty bad. At this time, My uncle was married and had moved out. I was so scared because of the situation that I would have accidents on a regular basis, including bowel movement. Besides all the abuse I got, I remember when I had any kind of accident, even bowel movement, and my mother would shove it in my face on a regular basis. When my mom took me in public, she would make me look at the handicapped parking spots and tell me I was nothing. A few years later, my cousins on my mom's side moved in with us, and my mom started beating all four of us. This went on for a couple of years. Then mom had my baby brother. He was adopted at the age of 6. About 3 years later, things got real bad. My older cousin ran away and never came back. So now it's down to 3 of us. A few months later, the county took all of us away. But for some reason, they brought us all back, but my sister. By now it's me, my brother, and one of my cousins. The abuse was still going on with my cousin and me. It got so bad I got extension cord across my back, ashtrays thrown at me, and whatever she could get her hands on. Also, I was on heavy seizure medication. I had seizures pretty regularly, but for some reason they slowed down after I got into foster care. I had accidents growing up because of the abuse. I was put into foster care and my bladder and bowel movement problems all stopped. So I guess it was the environment I was in. Now, I stopped all my medications prior to foster care, but the county knew that I was on seizure medication. So they took me to the doctor and put me back on it. They had to switch the formula to liquid because they found out that I was spitting out the pills. Let me tell you something. I started to enjoy the medication, but I don't know why. Maybe my mom was not giving me the right amount. I look back on it now and I used to look forward to getting it. I guess if I could have gotten my hands on drugs, I would have done it too. Now I'm in foster care, and I had only seen my dad occasionally throughout years. I was put up for adoption because I told them that I want going back to my mom. They put an ad in the paper seeking someone to adopt me. I was 12 or 13. The county described me perfectly for adoption in the paper. My dad read it and then he figured out it might be his son. So while I'm in a foster home for a while, I get this phone call at the house and it was my dad. I would not talk to him at first because I barely knew the guy. So I had an interview with a family to get adopted. Basically, Dad put a stop to it after going to the courts a couple times. I started going on visits with him. When I was going on visits with my dad on a weekend, I would be so spacey, so my dad would not give me my medicine for the weekend, and I was okay. He cut off all my medications when I lived with him, and I haven't had any problems since. They told my dad he needs somebody with him to get custody of me because they didn't want me alone. I ended up with my dad and his wife at the time. Their marriage only lasted a year, then he got together with her best friend who became my stepmom for the next 32 years. Now I already started drinking alcohol when I was 14 or 15. I remember my stepmother dropped me off at a buddy's house to go to a school dance. This is where my drinking took off. I got drunk before the dance. Everything went away and I felt really good. I could talk to people without stuttering and I thought this was great. So whenever anybody was drinking around me, I would put a straw in it and drink it. My dad was working at the car dealership, so he had to work really long hours in that year. It was only me and my dad because my sister was in a psych ward. When I was 16, I met a buddy that I used to party with all the time. When my dad was at work, my stepmom would tell us, if you want to drink, you guys come up with money and I will go buy it, but no driving. We had to give up our car keys. My buddy and I would drink pretty regularly. This went on for the next 15 years of my life. Also, we would race both of our cars from Pacifica to San Jose without licenses to see how long it would take us. Our best time was 25 minutes. It should take an hour. Another thing I did, almost drove a car into a house. We all went to a club called Kokomo's on Rockaway Beach, and I was supposed to be the designated driver, but I had a few beers. I was coming down a hill pretty fast. I went to slow down, and the car started swaying. Somehow I missed all the cars on the street, and my front bumper was at someone's front door. I did all this without a license. During all this time, I was involved in many crimes, like stealing car stereo and car logos. I was the driver for all of it. My 21st birthday was a birthday I will never forget. My dad told me that he wanted to take me out for my 21st birthday with a couple friends and my girlfriend. I was already occasionally drinking for a couple of years. My dad and I had a kamikaze fight. This was the first time I ever had a kamikaze, and it turns out what my dad was doing was ordering everyone a shot. I was drinking everything through a straw, like I do with everything. Besides beers on the side, I found out the next day that my dad was ordering everyone shots, but they were all passing them down to me. So by the end of the night, I was so hammered I couldn't even walk to the car, but I think my friends were also buying shots to add on. When we got home, everybody left me to walk into the house. The only thing I remember was I felt like vomiting. So I sat on the side of the car in the rain. Everybody is telling me to come in the house. So I stumbled from the car to the inside of the gate and I fell face first into a pile of mud and couldn't get up. My girlfriend called my dad and my dad threw me over his shoulder and threw me on my bed. I came to it at about 4 in the morning, crawled into my bed, and woke up the next day like nothing happened. At this point, there was already a problem, but I was not ready yet. I quit the pot because my girlfriend gave me the option that it was either the pot or her. She was packed and ready to go back to her mom's house. I chose my girlfriend, but I still drank. I would get drunk probably every other weekend. And I was still living with my dad and my girlfriend that stayed with me the longest. I had girlfriends before, but they would end after a couple of months. I used to think it was because I was disabled. When I drank, I didn't think about any of that. Now I have to tell you one thing that I did under pot and alcohol. When I found out that my mom was a couple hours from death, I wasn't very pleasant toward my sister, my dad, or my stepmom. The reason I say that is because I got a call from my dad on my pager with 911, meaning to get home immediately. So I did. He told me that I have to go to the hospital because my mother was in a coma, dying. My reaction was, yeah, so my dad told me that if I am not there, they would do anything because I am her oldest living relative. I told my dad that I would meet them at that hospital. I made a stop to my buddy's house, then I went to the hospital. But when I arrived, I was loaded and my reaction was not very pleasant. I was needed to sign the papers to let her go. I okayed it, but my sister had to sign for me because I was too messed up. The thing I did after she passed on is I sang the Wizard of Oz song, Ding Dong, the witch is dead. She passed on at the age of 40 as a result of our disease. I know my mom was sick, and I am doing an ongoing amends. I can say today that I love her, and that's all because of the steps. I was drinking on benches, on and off for a long time. I would buy bottles of beer because I could open the bottles better than the cans and pour them into cups by myself. I would buy cases of beer and drink it in my room until my dad and Stephen talked to me about it. They were concerned about me. I guess I would get drunk and get mean. So I stopped for about 6 months and then started back up, but it wasn't every day. I stopped drinking about 3 times without a program until the last drunk. During this time, I ran away with my girlfriend to Reno and got married, still living at home. I just picked her up from work one day, flew to Reno, and married her on Friday, November 13th. When we got back, both families were pissed off, and I really didn't care. About 4 to 6 months later, we moved into our own apartment in Belmont, so I would throw parties on weekends. Our apartment became the party place. A year after we moved, we had my daughter, who has a big impact on the reason why I am in front of you guys, but we'll find out later. This slowed down my drinking for a couple years. I still drank on the weekends, but not as much because I had a job at a round table in Half Moon below I lived in Belmont. This went on for about 2 years, and then we were expecting another child. I still had my beers at night. I am going to speed up a couple of years later. This is when I started drinking heavily. I wasn't working anymore because of medical reasons, so my entertainment was drinking. I would just sit around the house and get drunk. I would promise the family I would do something, but I won't follow through it. My last 2 or 3 months, I went on a binge. I would go over to my buddy's house and drink with him all day and drive home with the whole family in the car. There were a few times I shouldn't have driven, but I did. Then I started drinking every day and got earlier and earlier in the day, and I wasn't worried about anyone else. I would drink for any reason there was. I started losing control of my bladder, and I would make up excuses for it every time, lying. Oh well, I only have one kidney. I did this quite a few times. Now, I was fighting with my wife because she wanted me to do stuff, and I didn't want to do anything but drink. I would go to bars on my scooter with friends early in the day and come home drunk with wet pants, but that didn't bother me. I should have gotten a DUI on all of these occasions because they look at the scooter as a vehicle. I would just take a shower and drink more because I always had it in the house. I'm going to get to how I got here. I was fighting with my wife daily. The Sunday before I surrendered, I went to a concert in Twin Pines Park. I just got a brand new scooter, so I was on the new one, and a friend was on the old one. We were drinking all day. We had a barbecue after the concert. I took off from everybody else and rode the big hills in the back of the park. I got my buddy to drive the old scooter. By now, we were both drunk. We decided to go four-wheeling with both scooters on the dirt road. We were doing it for a while. What happened was I was going down the hill and I was headed for a tree. So I tried to avoid it, but the scooter rolled twice with me in it and it landed on top of me. My friend broke the handlebars off the scooter that he was on. I got dragged down the hill and the scooter got picked up. My wife looked disgusted. Lied. Not again. We all went back to the house. I took a shower, got dressed, and me and my buddy went back to the store, which was 6 blocks away, on both scooters, and bought a case of beer. By the time we got home, we had about 6 beers each. This is where my daughter comes in. The next thing I remember, I'm on the floor yelling at my daughter, telling her to get the F away from me and don't effing worry about me. My daughter was almost sick. After I realized what I did when she was crying and scared, I was in the shower for the second time. I got out of the shower, looked at my wife, and said I can't do this anymore. I'm going to end up like my mother. This was when I finally surrendered and thought that there was the problem. I knew if I didn't do something about it, I would have lost everything, and I knew I couldn't do it on my own because of what happened to my mother. So I knew someone who was already in the program. I called him the next day, and we went to my first meeting. I am thankful for this person getting me here, but I haven't seen or heard from him in a long time. So I think something may have happened to him. I found out that one of my uncles has been in these rooms, but I didn't see him much. Since I've been coming to these rooms, my life is getting better, but the first 2 months was the hardest. After 2 months, I got a sponsor who walked through all the steps. I found a new family that cares about me, are willing to have me in their lives, and do stuff with me. They are patient enough to listen to me. Without these people in these rooms, I don't know where I would end up. I'm basically getting to see my family grow since I started the program. Because of all these people that care, I have many friends now, which I didn't have before. And I try to keep promises to my family at home without breaking them. So, to all newcomers, if you have a problem with alcohol, you are in the right place, and I am willing to sponsor anyone. Just hold on, because it will be the best ride of your life if you are ready with the 12 steps in order and on the book. I love the people of Alcoholics Anonymous and my home group. My home group is Monday night, it's sober. Win prizes. I think I missed a lot of good times, but I'm working on my life today, and it's a lot better than it was before, but not perfect. This has been the best time of my life that I can remember since I've been in the program. I have a wonderful relationship with my 2 kids and my wife, which is still getting better. My kids are all grown up now and both have moved out of state. We have 2 grandchildren now that are growing likely, but we only get to see them on rare occasions besides fast time due to living in another state. I'm doing my part of the job of being a loving dad and husband, which I don't think I did so much before in the past with my family. I do my best to keep promises to my wife and kids. because without me, my wife would be stranded without transportation. Because I am the only driver, due to unfortunate events, we were gifted a wheelchair accessible van that has some complications. My wife has medical problems herself, so that's why I'm the only driver. I just don't know where I would be today without certain people that I have gotten to know since I started I think of as my family. I got to watch people fall down and grow in I keep reminding myself that this could happen to me, but this is a one day at a time program, and that's how I'm doing it. If you are on medication prescribed by your doctor and you are following directions, stay on it because you need it. This between you and your sponsor. Because of recovery and friends, I got to move out of an apartment that is basically for medically disabled people. I got a voucher to move and I did a lot of work on this. Homeowners don't like Section 8, but a friend of mine from these rooms got us into a house. This was a much better house all around. It was leveled and a better location. I have a real good relationship with the landlord, which is real nice. I want to tell you about a special amends that I got to make, an amends I did not even know I was going to make. A member of the fellowship was in the hospital. My sponsor called me and told me that he was at the hospital visiting traveling Larry, so I went up there too. I wasn't thinking anything of it at the time. There was a group of 5 or 6 of us. Larry asked for everybody's phone number. My sponsor gave him my number for his phone book. The next day he called and asked me to come visit him. That one call turned into an everyday call. The call went like, "Mickey, this is Larry at the hospital." I said, "Yes, Larry." He said, "Are you coming to visit today?" This happened every single day until he couldn't talk anymore. So I kept going up there every day. I saw people coming in out the last week of his life, and I was there most of the time. I was there the day he passed on, and I had hurt myself. So I went home. I talked to my sponsor about this, and I figured out why I was there so much. It was for Larry, and also to make amends with my mom. As a matter of fact, the night before he passed on, I was holding Larry's hand, and I asked him to say hi to my mom, to tell her how I was doing, and that I love her. He squeezed my hand at that moment. I went to a meeting, and practically everybody who was at the hospital that day was at the meeting. About an hour after the meeting, I got the call, that he was gone. If you have an amends like I have, there will be a time and place to do it. This was not my plan, but as you can see, I did what I was taught. It all started with one phone call. My uncle that I mentioned before, that worked my ass off as a child. I found out in November of '07 that he was diagnosed with cancer in his esophagus. He found out about it 2 months before I did. He had his girlfriend call me because he knew it would kill me. I was his favorite, and he knew how much I looked up to him. Because of what I went through with Larry, the steps, and my sponsor and friend, I just took care of him like I'm supposed to. I got to be a son along with my cousin, who is his real son. I saw him the day before Easter at the hospital, and he was okay. He was sick, but he was all there. He was still going outside. My family and I were there with him all day because there was a giant. game on, and he was a real fan of all sports. I asked him if he wanted me to watch the game with him, and he said yes. So that's what we did. I told him that I had stuff to do for Easter, and he said, okay, he'll be here. That Monday, they called me and told me that I needed to get down there immediately. Let me tell you something. This man was so stubborn that he checked himself into the VA the Wednesday before that, and now it's Monday. So I fly down to Palo Alto to get in there. He was alert, and I got to say, Dad, I'm here. I love you. And he said it back. I went to get some food, and the head nurse stopped me and asked me who I was. I heard the one thing that no one wants to hear. That was, don't plan on leaving. And if there was any other family, to contact them. I got a hold of my cousin and he flew down. About an hour and a half after my cousin got there, and my uncle knew we were both there, he started to slow down. I got to be at his bedside with my cousin all day and night, and I got to help my cousin deal with it. My cousin had mixed feelings because my cousin did not really get the father figure out of him like I did because of the steps and the program. I got to help him through it. We were both there until he passed. I was there for 18 hours straight, and you guys might think I'm crazy, but I had a step needing to go to that night at someone's house. I still went and I made it to a meeting when I got back from the hospital that day too. The point I'm making is, whatever happens in your life, you can still get to a meeting. I never thought I would make it through losing my uncle, but I was proven wrong by the steps and all of my friends. I'm going to say one more thing and then I'll end it. My uncle knew I was in program and he kept telling me to stay close to the meetings with my friends and stop going. As a matter of fact, I have a real close friend in here that I knew all along. And when all of this was going on, he was always there for me. It turns out that this person knew my uncle for a long time, and we didn't know it till the day of his funeral. This guy is replacing that role. God put this person in my life for a reason. If this person is in the room, I love you, and my family loves you. He'll end with this. The 12 steps are helping me to learn to live a better life, and I have so many friends that I count on. I never had it before. For newcomers, please give it a chance. The disease will always be there, so if you need to go experience more, go ahead. It's not my job, or anyone else's, to keep you here. If you're willing to do this, there are many of us that are more than happy to help you. Thank you.